All right. Good morning, everyone. And so we will start with Lamrim Kappa Guru Yoga, and then Geshe will lead the way with correcting and motivation with refuge and bodhicitta. So the text will be shared on the screen and also for people at home. So you're welcome to join us. From the heart of the sever of the 100 deities of the Shida, on a peak of cloud and resembling clump of extremely white fresh curd, King of Dhamma, omniscient Lawson Drakpa, please come here together with your sons. In the sky before me on lying throne, lotus and moon, my perfect pure Guru smiles with delight. Supreme films of merit for my mind of faith, please abide for 100 eons to spread the teachings. Your holy mind is the intelligence that understands the full extent of objects to be known. Your holy speech with its excellent explanations is an ear ornament for those of good fortune. Your holy body is radiantly beautiful with glory renowned. To you are meaningful to see, hear, and remember are prostrate. Pleasant drinking water, various flowers, fragrant incenses, light scented waters, and so forth. Oceans of cloud-like offerings both actually arrange and actually emanate. I offer to you the supreme field of merit. Whatever non-virtue of body, speech, and mind, especially those opposite to the three vows that I've collected from beginningless time, I confess each and every one with fervent regret from my heart. You strove for much learning and practice in this degenerate age and made your friends and riches meaningful, but abandoned the 8 worldly concerns. Sever will sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds. Perfect, pure, holy gurus on the billion clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of the Dhammakaya, please let fall a rain of profound and extensive Dhamma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need. May whatever virtue I've collected benefit the teachings and all transmigrated beings, and in particular may cause the essence of pure Lawson Drakpa's teachings to shine forever. Sashi Poki Jun Shimeto Tamri Rabling Shi Nide Yen Padi Sangye Shindu Mikde Owa Indoku Namda Shin La Chupasho. For the merits of having offered this mandala to Lama Tsongkhapa and his 2 sons, may I, my family members, and all sentient beings be able to meet, practice, and actualize the teachings of victorious one, Lawson Drakpa, who had the morality of an eminently pure way of life, was courageous in extensive conduct of the sons of the victorious ones, and accomplished the yoga of 2 stages of supreme bliss and emptiness. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayami. But the fault of having fervently requested in this way, hollow beams of white light are emitted from the hearts of the perfect pure Father and Sons, and combining into one enter my crown. White nectar, the color of milk, flows from the opening of tube of white light, cleansing all my sicknesses, spirit harms, negative karmas, obscurations, and the imprints without exception. My body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. We will recite the 5-line Mixima verse 3 times. Mimete wete chen chen rezi, jime kimbe wangpo jampe yang, dobu malu jonze sanwe ta, kanje kimbe tsugyen songa pa, losan drape shavla sowa de, mimete wete chen chen rezi, jime kimbe wangpo jampe yang, dobu malu jonze sanwe ta, kanje kimbe tsugyen songa pa, losan drape shavla sowa de, mimete wete chen chen rezi, jime kimbe wangpo jampe yang, Dupu malu jomze sanweda, kanche kembe tsugen tsongwapa, losandra pe shavla sowa de.
Sanji
Chodan
Chodan
Sogi
Tsogi
Chonam La
Chonamla
Chanchu
Chanchu
Badu
Badu
Dani
Dani
Kapsuchi
Kapsuchi
Dagi
Dagi
Chushigi
Chushigi
Betsona
Vandada
Rola
Rola
Benchi
Benji Sanji
Sange Doparasho
Ruparasho Sanji
Chodan
Chodan
Sogi
Tsogi
Chonam La
Chonamla
Chanchu
Chanchu
Badu
Badu
Dani
Dani
Kapsuchi
Kapsuchi
Dagi
Dagi
Chushigi
Chushigi
Betsona
Vandada
Rola
Rola
Benchi
Benji
Sange
Sanji
Doparasho
Ruparasho Sanji
Chodan
Chodan
Sogi
Tsogi
Chonam La
Chonamla
Chanchu
Chanchu
Badu
Badu
Dani
Dani
Kapsuchi Dagi
Dagi chushe
Chushigi
jeba
Betsona
dagi rola
Rola
ben
Benchi
sanji
Sange
rupara
Doparasho
sho kangi tuzi ni zoni dawa tamje pambi chere tambi chun denzi padam jela changze lo. Good morning everyone. I'm coming.
So I guess just wondering where do you live around here or are you just visiting New South Wales? Visiting Queensland. All right. Is it your first time here? Okay. 4 times.
Australia me.
So what's your origin? I hear if some Hinduism, but all right. So where were you born? No, where were you born? Bavaria. All right. So you're like a Bavarian. All right. Munich? Near Munich. Sorry to hear that. I commiserate with your brother. Yeah. 그런 질문이래.
저랑 길 다대야 친구 친구들이야 야간에 락샤스거든 락샤. 야가기 사두트 속에 아니 길 따그러 왔어. 안 저랑 길 따야기 아치로 왔어. 아디 저랑 전등 가르치고 그랬어.
그런데 개겐디 개하치 레사. 그런데 개하기 개겐지 땡기여서. So yeah, I guess I just noticed that you have a rosary of beads that are called in Indian language raksha. So beads of some Indian masters, and you also have, is it A or Om on your neck? So what is the meaning of the syllable according to the tradition that you follow? Everything. Okay. You look fantastic.
Looks very, very good.
All right. Dilla di omro, di gauke di citan di omre, citan di Quran, chutam cheladen di tucham tamchegi du yoresa. Ani chenga di rawasi zikbo che. 그런 zikbo shio chitongi dos.
최상체 힌두게 다 남비게 니진 툰사망부슈직 런 툰사망부슈직 여러와스 디치디게 남비게 최탕 제비게 최탕 지게 넬루티 옴 아티 청구 여러와스 아니 힌두게 첼레야 최탕 제 청구 사이디 거기다 찍박소로지.
And so you mentioned everything is in kind of Om pervades everything. It's quite similar to Buddhist explanation, and there are many similarities between Hindu traditions and the Buddhist tradition. Also, according to the Buddhist traditions, we explain the meaning of such syllables, Om, A, and so forth. We also refer to how pervasive the meaning is in subsuming or including all phenomena.
이래다 최탕 제스나 아니 심전 탐지 디 차시 점러스. 그래서 심전 탐지를 최탕 제 성당고디 아니 심전 탐지 samladi di shor suraj. Ani samjatang chilaya samlatayandi nambigi chobi nangita ani choba chok kewa chilaya sigiyores.
And so all phenomena, they include also all sentient beings, all living beings, right? All living beings are part of everything that exists. And so we think of them, we consider living beings, and from the point of view of the practice of the Buddha Dharma, that becomes the most supreme practice, to consider all living beings.
Rengi chomden di zenam chik gyagani dikshagyun zenam chanzang chik ani jaya chongsons ani chomden di lobalam ji negosia ani chik tatsu hindi gi ani leben tindi mamu leya ten ani tu chen lobjon nani ani thar ani tachu thamji gi nelukti ani sikchini ani sangi bi zebat ananzu nambi shong la shewo ya gyagani diksha tagara dikshandos tenza ani chomden di thoma gi gegen tozo ani hindu gi lama tindiredos.
So not long ago, Geshe watched a series that was telling the life story of the Buddha, the different stories, the different events on the life story of the Buddha. And so one of the things that were depicted in that series was how the Buddha, before becoming enlightenment, had many teachers, many masters, and obviously they were Hindu masters. So he studied with them, he trained, and at the end, he came to see, to understand all phenomena. The way that the narratives of the Buddha are told within the Buddhist tradition, the Tibetan tradition, the way that they were depicted in that series were pretty much the same. So taking into consideration that the teachers that the Buddha relied upon to begin with were those that came from Hindu traditions.
Treasure desan chomden di zenam di tajejun tatuk madara ge kashi chada chendara kunzu kasha gi sorush
Adila di palo kya chol marwa kashi chimden dochi yasare dila di
tamu tatuk dara
la
tamu tatuk
ne peshe di samsam chige tola dende chi palo kya mi chobo chimden do sogirwa chezan kashi dende chimengi to ne di ijula shawai na ijilam
kasha
chogre
desan tatuk mdo yangeji taku samsa.
Yeah. Anyway, Geshe was kind of thinking of watching this TV series again, and since it disappeared from YouTube, and told Geshe that maybe it's an issue of copyright. Who knows?
Daring anzo delia Lamrim said, Lamrim di sapasang ya charging on the Lamrim should take your is.
Anyway, we have been looking at the presentation of the Lamrim, the Steps of the Path to Enlightenment. During the Friday morning teachings, this is the text that we've been covering.
The Lamrim ditsu duondige and lam labasum sech. Tomang and it Tsultrim lava. Shichi. And it thing in lava. And it Sherab labasum. The Sondrig Tony and it Yamsulan Danch. Sunguares. The Tomagi and it Jimba Tsultrim Sofa Sondri something said Tewachimbu. They're going to shoot somebody. The Deni the Shilani Cordelia, Lady Shas, Ratiri.
And so the summation of the text that explains the steps of the path to enlightenment is the way to train in the parts of the three trainings. So first off, we have the training in ethical discipline, then the training in concentration, and finally the training in wisdom. So all these need to be combined together to be united. And so the presentation of the steps of the path to enlightenment teaches how to combine these three trainings, and particularly looking at the section that we've been covering as of late in the text, having looked at this test of the path of those of the small and medium scope, we are now looking at this test of the path of the great scope. And we've covered the presentation of the 6 perfections, so generosity and ethical discipline, patience, joyous effort, absorption, and wisdom. So we looked at that extensive presentation, and now we are looking particularly at the way to practice the last 2 perfections, the perfection of absorption or dhyana and wisdom, through developing calm abiding and special insight, shamatha and vipassana. And so we have different teachings that we are doing here every week. And so we have different classes happening during weekdays and weekend, but this one, teachings on the steps of the path of enlightenment, are Geshe's favorites.
Shogi chudo sheba la ya ngani se songs ngani se di gemu ge de sha ngani se di ngara gemu shuchi kaza mulam kala ya nga mulam jitani mulam di na la ya gemu shuchi gemu sho ni se on di ni se sana ya gemu di shor de ndasra dige dagas tel tendas ki yo marisra tendas ki yo mar nganzo ani chudo inzangi di chi dagas chikshini to songs.
Geshe woke up today at 4 a.m. with a smile on his face. He was giggling, continuation of giggling in his dream. So anyway, it doesn't have any particular meaning, but thought I'd just sharing it with you guys. Discipline master.
Gigu chigding is so chin than the Mundumother. Gain chig the Yamang on the petty again, gain chido. Gain Chilidorji. Kung Gigu Kalia, Tasam men chig the Serachin Chigora. Gain the Reshara. Gigu with any Dohana Malaya, Tindung Zeguchida. And Nala Parjasha said. And he covered the king of Parjagda. Sons of Vidya, sons of Parjag. I give you Pugila, Chick Pudrache, Quinzego Sogora. And the touch to the patient of Tavchi. I give you Trollanga. Trolland touched to the Chingash and take that trail. And he could be touched to the theatre as a Parjag. And I get to see the game much later. And yet couldn't name my person Parjagora. I give you give you Trolland, you the new Parjagorda. Parjang, Nalaki Lama, Parjang is Sharo. And a Parjang, digital game of show, you said, game of show.
So we fixed the camera just a second. In the meantime, I'll tell you what the story was. Dila Gentile dojo said, Serame.
Serchere, Kong Roba Giguja. He ding is so shows tongue with the Malama.
C'è correct roba di Serame Gerudi Kare. Oops, what happened? Col roba Serame di. All right, sorted. Thank you. The magic touch. Anyway, Geshe had a dream. He woke up giggling, and there was a new discipline master that was appointed in the monastery where Geshe comes from. So normally when a new discipline master is appointed, there's a certain welcoming ceremony or let's say inauguration ceremony. And it was one of Geshe's teachers, Chenle Doje, one of the one that taught him scripture. And so Geshe was also there for the ceremony, the installation of the new discipline master. And one of Geshe's friends that is associated also with with one of the colleges. It's Sera Monastery has different colleges, Sera. Anyway, to cut a long story short, they asked Geshe to take photos and videos of the whole thing. And so the new discipline master was kind of prancing about quite proudly, or menacingly, in the big assembly hall where many monks assemble. And as it happens, there are also quite a few younger monks, and they were mucking around, they were playing and kind of not listening, not looking at what's going on. And so the new discipline master, with a menacing appearance, kind of was approaching them. And it's quite common in the monastery, when you kind of want to instill some fear in those young monks, then you kind of bash them with your mala, with your rosary. So Geshe was in charge of taking photos, so he deliberately kind of took photos of kind of the new discipline master bashing the new monks. And his friends were telling him, like, no, don't take images of that, don't take photos of that. But Geshe kind of was spying around the new discipline master and taking photos of how he was bashing the young ones. Anyway, that put a smile on Geshe's face. When I say bashing, it's not like violent bashing. It's more like, I guess, a friendly tap with a.
You said I gave a share to the chick that she was at. And then the Malam sing can that that's
Anyway, Geshe just wanted to tell the story. He woke up in the morning, 4 a.m. with a smile on his face.
There is that and some day.
De la Sumbala Shine Gingo ni Gondrele di Marbe.
Loss and
Okay.
that there is this law shagging that.
So anyway, we're going to go back to the text and pick up on the point that we left off in the previous session. So as we're looking at the way to combine shamatha and special insight, shamatha and vipassana, the section that we're going to begin with today is the nature of shamatha and special insight. We did some reading of that section in the previous week, but we're going to start from the beginning of this section and continue.
Nyandang Chingo da Dandinema on the machine dripdan down, Langdon dripdan di, Anichi Sonsagi, Chedushu, the Jati, so di, Anchi Rajon Pomo singing di, Gombalaya de Goras, Gomba singing di, that ne Ambalaya, Anichi Tonker down, Mundunzo Chesa Maimba, and Dindilaya, and a Rajon Pomo, Gombala de. And Mitzi Koran Piggy, and it to some gom singing the church in it. That Mitzi Dagiobanza and Dindilaya, so Dindilaya, and Migni, Dindilaya, me with some Dindilaya Tishawachi, Chagores, Inaya, and Dele Tribi, Chanel Hangtong singing the, and it's Rajon Pomo Maim in Soinaya, and in Yamne Chi, and a chogre, Tindilaya, and Yon chogres, in a zodi, and a Rajon Pomolaya, Mimi, Tisha Juchi, Chadishas.
And so we will continue with the teachings on shamatha and vipassana, combating special insight. Now we're looking at this presentation, but we also have to think of the context. And so the context of these teachings was teachings that were oriented, or that were given to a community of monastics, to monks and nuns living in monasteries. And the word for a monastery in Tibetan, Gompa, has a connotation of being a secluded place, which means that those instructions, particularly on how to develop shamatha and vipassana, were not given to city dwellers or to those that were living in a place, in a busy place that has a lot of hustle and bustle, but for those that lived in seclusion, away from all that hustle and bustle, and they dedicated their life to study, reflection, and meditation. And so those teachings were aiming at them. That was the focus of those teachings. So that's the context. Now here, when we partake of those teachings are given to us, teachings on karma binding and special insight. Obviously, the teachings are not given just to a community of monastics, also there are non-monastics here. And so while we take on those teachings and we try to put them into practice as much as we can, just thinking of the way that those teachings were giving and the connotation or the context of those teachings, we have to keep in mind that they were given in a certain context to a community of monastics.
And she was on the Masevi, Nyamyon tending and Dindijangi, and it chew gigi, Nangiros, Chidaning and Zambilin Alaya, and it gigi singing, and it Getrulaya, Count Laviagi, Lavishigi, Lomsendi, Susugi, and it pig, and it Jan Tarchini, and it gigi Chiamado, and it Shambadi Omaros, Tinashingi, Pardon to Chudi. And that jig Zambalin Nangi, and if from saying things have shoes, Geshe shoes, only chung washing in Jimana, the Chagores. In the Dindi, will from Zenti, Miss Shana love Chibalaya, Rangi Peggy, and Cheta was in the Shiva Chich. Teni, and Shana Shegoya, Tan, Piggy Shiva Zamas, Nyon Tembiton, Shegoa, and then Nyon Tambadi, and Ni Embalaya, Dechini, and it's Sam. Lord, the chick the dini, and it children lay a song of Dani, Sam lay a yon tangoyati, kitchen boot chaguavanza, and it shine the langtongi, and then from Zenti, Tigdos.
And so again, thinking of the context of these teachings and the way that they were given, at least in a way that the common narratives of how students rely upon teachers. When a teacher gives such teachings, they need to, first of all, have complete knowledge of how things exist, but also they need to have the practice side. Not only the knowledge, but they also need to have the practice side. And so in general, when we think of someone teaching, not just teaching the Dhamma, but in general, a teacher that is assigned to teach a group of students need to train in teachings, right? So they need to study the art of teachings. They need to develop the knowledge of how to become a teacher. So of course, that also happens within the Dhamma. And if you're very knowledgeable of the Dhamma, then you know that actually of the different subjects that can be studied, the Dhamma is one of the most extensive, but also profound and deep topics. So not only one needs to have the knowledge, but on top of that, one needs to have used the knowledge to develop an actual experience of those teachings. And so this experience is developed in isolation when one attends the mind single-pointedly to the topics that they have studied. And so then when they have developed or gathered both the knowledge, but also the experience that comes out of practice, then they can also teach it to others, such as, for example, the teachings here on karma binding and special insight.
The digi di gomne ani chagdang laya ani chagdang gogres chagdang pong tugres songora the di pong to the matuk di sosu gomne nyon teon na shi ni tene ani nyon tone chagdang goksochi ani ngiba nyejin goras the di nyeba na da ani shen laya da ani 딩수 통부톤 로 소소레 딩수 열어다 아니 디치고 그래스 디 팽그레스 로 뽑아도 뎀비톤이 아니 시야지 용구 열어스 디 매바이나 아니 직세도 니세도 직 인사리 패시 맨로 세워서지 랍데고나 아니 파쇼메 미 셈라야 팽아디 로 베카부차고사레스.
And so not only they need to have the knowledge, but they also need to have developed experiential knowledge, so to speak. So, for example, experiential knowledge of compounded phenomena being impermanent, or phenomena not existing independently, being empty of existing independently. And so when one not only has the knowledge of the academic knowledge of these topics, but also one develops the experience of them through one's meditation, then the experiential knowledge comes through in terms of the ability to put a stop to anger, attachment, and so forth, to abandon those afflictive states of mind. And so whether or not these can be ceased, anger, attachment, and so forth, whether they can be abandoned, that comes through developing an experience. Assessing whether that is possible to do will come through developing an experience. And so once that experience comes through one's meditation, also the type of self-confidence that one gains through teaching it to others becomes solid. And so through not only having the knowledge, but also through having the experience that comes out of practice, one can be quite confident in giving instructions. It is like this, it is not like that. Do this, do not do that. Otherwise, without developing that actual experience, one might just second guess what they need to do. So for example, saying, well, it's probably like this or like that. Maybe this is what you should do, or maybe you shouldn't do that. So if there is no confidence that is being developed through generating the experience of the Dhamma in one's mind, the ability to affect the mind of others would be limited. It would be very, very hard to give teachings which are going to be beneficial to others.
어디를 딘딜라 땐다 송구도서 좀바 신이기 원에스 다 공된리 대직부 엠반 독데스 그게 네 엠발에 독데 샘 남도 양다바 샤니 양다 샤니 제대로 레버삼비 최대니 일라 체지 샘 관계 일라 체비 샘디 남도 근처수 일라 체비 일라 체도스.
And so that's in general the context of those teachings and how those teachings should be given. Now, going back to the text, as we're looking at the nature of shamatha and vipassana, combating special insight, it says the nature of shamatha is set forth in the Unraveling the Intent Sutra. Dwelling alone in solitude, you settle the mind within and attend to those very phenomena you have been reflecting on just as they are. Whatever mind it may be, since that mind of attention is continuously directed inward, it is called attention.
대들 숙신 텔라 레망 네바 텔라 양양 삼니 양양 삼원디 간zam질이야 샘디 아니 베 아니 헬레로지 베 용구여서레스 디세 샘들 차원디 아니 류디야 아니 헬레 차르지 아니 어디리 용거다 진짜 텔라 류신도 장바 당 샘신도 장바 종 카인 바테니
Repeatedly placing it in this way, it becomes stable. And when physical and mental pliancy arise, this is called shamatha, which means that through the force of meditation, at some point, not only the mind becomes totally at ease or totally relaxed, but also the body itself is completely at ease. And so it says, when physical and mental pliancy arise, this is called shamatha.
디든 샘신도 모양과 균착수 일라 제비 샘 미발라 랑강기 내지 르숨 신도 잠비 가데 개바나 땡인즈 때는 신의 순결티 데니 샘 미발라 모양과 낭도 송을 잠리 기버린 규기 무비티 코는 콘도 추벌 되먹어서 가능한 실로디서 먹어서스.
The meaning of this is that if the mind attends to it continuously without distraction and stays on the object by itself, so that the bliss and joy of physical and mental pliancy arises, the concentration becomes shamatha. This will arise from merely keeping the mind inwardly focused on its object of visualization without distraction. It does not depend on comprehending ultimate reality. So we've read that in the previous session. We read that previously, and we will move on.
상동경 is 도 딩일리 디 류션도 장바당 샘션도 장바 톱니 딩일 네디 샘기 넘버 빵니 샘기 넘버 빵니 제대로 삼비 최대다 니 나도 땡긴지 줘요 숙니도 소소 똑을 제 매버 제도 대다 땡긴지 줘요 숙니 대다라 시시 대한테 넘버 제바당 Rab number jabatan, yunus tobatan, yunus jabatan, zobatan, debatan, cheda jabatan, tawatan number toba, kangibaten, langdong shechadi. 대단한 장주 선발 항동란 개발이 너무 shesos.
And so we read through the nature of shamatha, common abiding. Let's read through the nature of special insight, vipassana. So it is set forth in the same sutra, the sutra unraveling the intention. And it says, after achieving physical and mental pliancy, you abide in that state and eliminate other aspects of mind. With strong resolution, you finally investigate the very phenomena you have been reflecting on just as they are, the object of concentration being an internal image. Thus, with regard to the images that are the objects of your concentration, any differentiation of the meaning of those objects to be known, any thorough differentiation, full investigation, full analysis, forbearance, acceptance, classification, viewing, and conceptualization is called special insight. In that way, the Bodhisattva is skilled in special insight.
어디래다 라 신이기 갑라야 샘디 율텔야 템부치 대투가 제바디 아니 신이기 고든 조직 송고도스 라달 항통 레온디기 율텔야 대바zam마세 율티기 지 내출 용수 조바 제니 변나다 요출다 율디기 연된라 소바 율디기 젤레라 소바 율든 통화를 때니 즉 아니 고든 가르주고 예매라 소바 대탕지 아니 딱니 제니 네바닝이디 아니 상동라 샤그도스.
And so altogether with common abiding, we develop a stable observation. The ability of the mind to observe an object and to become stable is developed. That's common abiding or shamatha. With vipassana, special insight, the mind is not just observing an object. On top of that, there is a complete scrutiny or analysis of an object, the way that it exists, what kind of features that it has, does it have, what kind of good qualities it has, scrutiny of different features, causality, benefits, and so forth. All of these are developed through special insight.
대란 넘버 제반이 진예 바당스. 더 최고비 샘 때서기 율들이야. 아니 가서부터 총이 소리지. 그 진예 바당 아니 지다와 생긴기 간지 아니 전담당 군족이 촉 선한다. 아니 컨설단 네츠기 아니 촉선은 딘지기 아니 최탐절이야 딘지기다 아니 찬이 요반자 아니 난주그 톨이야 땅에 난줄 될이야 아니 진예바스 네술 될이야 쳐다와스 어 딘지 아니 넘버 제바세디 아니 진예발이야 넘버 rabd number jebasedi chadawan jebatans then jebatans.
And so the sutra unraveling the thought describes the way that we analyze the object of observation. So it says any differentiation of the meaning of those objects to be known, any thorough differentiation, full investigation, and so forth. And so then Lama Tsongkhapa explains the meaning of these terms. Differentiation is a differentiation of things in their variety. And thorough differentiation is a differentiation of the ultimate mode of being. And so we use these two terms to describe the varieties of phenomena or the divisions of phenomena. So there is a the actual nature of phenomena, which is called reality, and the full extent of phenomena, which is called variety. Or other terminology that we use is conventional and ultimate. So here differentiation is a differentiation of things in the variety, which means in relation to the conventional level, conventional truths, which means in relation to the mode of appearance. And thorough differentiation is the differentiation of the ultimate mode of being, which means of ultimate truth, the way that phenomena exists.
아니 똑중이 이거니다 저버치세 똑번은 생월 똑번이라 저번은 시벌 저버스.
And we also have different extents of analysis. So investigation is a coarse investigation and analysis is a subtle analysis.
그래다 지금 지금은 인지털이에 세부 얘기를 배나 아니 똑바 재미고는 주고스 율라야 아니 재미고는 주스라원디 배나 가서 디나도 스타원디 미 가서도 아니 부 가서도 고모 가서도 딘디도지 아니 토마델이야 징마스라고레스 다 디니 아니 미드조 롱바카네레도 아니 미디 아니 엘야 시제 가르도 미디레가 가르치고도 니민 가르도 길어번 준 14부 있다 아니 따야죠라스 텔야 아니 가르사 아니 쇼바스 쇼빈 주바스.
So two modes of differentiation are made here with respect to coarse and subtle. So we have investigation, which is a coarse investigation, and analysis that is a subtle analysis. And so the difference between them can be explained using the following example or analogy, if you will. And so you can have a coarse investigation, which is looking at the people that are here at this room and is having a rough estimate of the number of people that are here in the room, how many of them are male, how many of them are female, this is a kind of a coarse investigation. Now, subtle analysis would go into finer details, more detailed analysis. So for example, not only accounting for the number of people in this room, but also what is the background, where do they come from, what is the level of education, and so forth. In that way, there is coarse investigation and subtle analysis.
terda chera pha ani yul jar baina bena tokbadi bena chesa gi yul ngaran su lu tawle ya jar baina ani tokbadi gi ani lu thagara lu di sosu lu di ngonzen tu wadle ya ta tokbado jres ro ta dini chepati gi ani lu ti gi karsu ta gyodan ke ro gyodan ke ani karikari me lu tupdang la soba tu soba jeon di ta ji lu ne dang yong su zoba xinya ji yong ras ta di ani joba sing deres.
And so, for example, investigation dealing with the coarse level would be in relation to the body, for example, would be identifying our body. The more subtle analysis will be looking at the body in a more detailed way. For example, discerning the cause and conditions that play a role in the formation of the body.
di kechemu chago resro susu luleya ngi luin samondige 다가랑게 베기 아니 심죽 땡 사보 마진이 니 루인 쌈 데데바이나 아니 델레야 착신기야서다 안 디지 딘리지 마도 쇼 레야 카보레스 니 루세 루티 톨레야 쌈단 루티 니 루티 컨디션 춥도 컨디션 총도 두 쌈단디 주긴 톨레야 제바 마지란지 두 제바 제원디게 지 비 년년래야 아니 지 밤이 코달라 소바다 아니 지 현지 지게래야 아니 지 밤이 코달자 마임바 루트 당게 년년 켜봐와 지다 마샤란자 디샤원디도 제원디게 아니 자와 비기다 지 아니 차발라 소발야 두고여버도 지 통원디게 루 네루 용수 줘버진 통원디 아니 란신 그 룰래야 착신 끼야디 Geshe gyatama nyong zhugores. Ta digi semle pengorda chakshen kazus nyongwa di zogi mid lolo chagores. Lolo chagores. Lolo chana kiwu chagores. Kiwu chana pembarewas.
And so we do it with respect to our body. For example, we have a certain investigation of our body. We first of all begin with looking at the attitude that we have with respect to our body. Whenever we think of my body, then we hold on to this body as mine. And without analyzing, without investigating the body, there's a sense of attachment and adherence that we have to my body. But then when we start to investigate and analyze the body, for example, investigating the way in which a body becomes my body, what is the way in which the body was formed, and so forth. We investigate the body through looking at the substantial causes for the body, through looking at the cooperative conditions contributing to the body. We look at it from different perceptions. And all those things are things that we need to get to in our analysis investigation, so that at the end we come to see the body in a complete sense. And when we have a complete understanding of the entity that is my body, our anger and attachment will abate. We'll have a lesser sense of attachment and adherence to the body. And if that occurs, the mind would be more at ease. If the mind becomes more at ease, our mind will be happier or better. And if the mind is happier, that will be something that is helpful to us.
가zus 제도바 디저기 아니 류기 아니 내룩 통투야지 라 류라야 제원디게 류페나 류케치케치킨 요르스 네스티야 세우 쇼지 아니 토투야라 소바 딘디 토바나 류지 딱바 템보 비질야 쇼지 젠체네 안 델야 송규 쇼 제데야냐 아니 농주 임바치 라디 쇼지 공콤베바 임바치 도 사말로 간지 아니 착당기 촉 로디 하장기 용르야야 아니 제비토기 펜도 연구요레스 로디 연구요레스.
And the more we analyze the body, the more we can see the reality of the body, the way that the body exists. For example, we can recognize it as being something that changes from moment to moment. It disintegrates from moment to moment. And so when we see the reality of, when we can see the reality of the body as being something that changes momentarily from moment to moment, we will rid ourselves of the sense of having a body that is stable and permanent, which is often the way that we think of our body. We think that there's something stable about the body, something that is permanent or enduring about the body. And we take actions in order to protect a body that has those features of permanence and stability. But then when we understand the reality of the body, for example, it as being something that changes from moment to moment, we see that there is no need to develop those attitudes seeking to protect a body that supposedly is stable and permanent, so that our anger attachment will be thereby greatly reduced, and therefore will come to be more attuned to the nature of the body. That will come through analysis and investigation.
데리 디난싱기 니 루싱이 나세디로 나싱이 디톨이야 아니 샘샤온디기 아니 토베칼이야 나이 통투거레스로 말한 소소소소 라니 통거레스 뇽이 투거레스로 나 대우 총소 나 기부 총소 나 기부 문도 나 지구 나 빼기 오늘 온섬 통거라서로 디 나를 따주디 아니 똑배기 제위 따와들이 뭐도 14비 아니 나등 문제 투요 말했어. 다 14비 땅인디 아니 저비 거니다. 나 세게 비길이야. 아니 제 제원디 되는 시니 비기게 아니 주주사 메데지 그러 주주사 메지 샤사 메지 차원디 되니 단지 나저 고당볼 레야기 힌두다 남반이기 아니 따주고 토네 케바디 아니 지금 나한테 딱 바래샤스 지금 나디 비기게 따고 말했어요. 딘지기다 아니 따위 돌려원디기 아니 제츠 만들어 인 거레스 간지 아니 남배숑래야 그냥 나래야 따원디기 나디 셀니 많이 받지 셀니 이기매 받지 셀니 피긴 죽수서 유딘 죽수서 매 받지 디 시고레스 딘지 레원디기 아니 차단 계사기 율사원이니 매 받지 로 아니 차단 계대야디 아니 간주 트위왕 로 트위왕도 손치네 차단 계기 여보마도 아니 된 담방 원에 잔내기 차단 계사 율직 매 받디 아니 제비 또기 로 율 십사비 제비 또기 아니 이번에 예직 송고레스
Not only we have this notion of this is my body, we also have the same notion of ourself. When we think of I, when we think of me, then there is a certain appearance that dawns to a mind of ourselves. So we think of ourselves as being like, for example, no, I'm well, I'm not well, I'm happy, and I'm happy, and so forth. And so when we think of ourselves, when we conceptualize ourselves with the thought of I, there's a certain appearance of ourselves that dawns to our mind. And so since the sense of self that appears to our mind at that point is quite clear, we can say that we relate to that with a close investigation, but we don't take the next step, which is to assess ourselves with subtle analysis. And so when we then start to investigate ourselves in greater details, we find analysis. When we engage with a very detailed analysis, we come to the end of that analysis in seeing that when we look for the I or me that is now appearing to our mind so clearly, we cannot find it. We cannot point a finger to a self, to me, to I, that exists objectively in and of itself. And so now we had a bit of discussion at the beginning of this session. So roughly speaking, you can say that when you look at differences between some Indian traditions or Hindu traditions and the Buddhist tradition, some of the philosophical views differ in terms of whether the self, I or me, is permanent or impermanent. From the point of view of Buddhist philosophy, when we look for ourselves, when we investigate the notion of self that we have, when we try to find the I within within ourselves, we cannot find it. It doesn't exist objectively. There is no objective I or me that we can point it at the beginning, at the end of our analysis and investigation. And since I or me does not objectively exist, there is no basis for anger and attachment. For anger and attachment are developed in relation to supposedly and independently, objectively existing me. But when we try to look for that objectively existing me, we come to see that the objects that anger and attachment adhere to do not exist, and therefore they mistakenly engage those objects. Such as the certainty that we develop when we try to investigate in great details the existence of self.
신인이 샘지지 보고 당동 소소 또 보고 세단 지전 참비장 주기민은 동방원데 신의 남도 시버차 당동 남니 대된남 넘버 줘봐 시버차스.
And so the Cloud of Jewels Sutra says shamatha is a one-pointed mind. Special insight is fine investigation. The Venerable Maitreya also says in ornament for the Mahayana Sutra, distilling words about phenomena should be known as the path of shamatha, while a full analysis of the meanings should be known as the path of special insight.
아니 당부 비기게 샘디 약 때투고야 샘 때투고야나 아니 샘기 제투 그랬어. 야부치 때 맞는 제투고요 말했어. 아니 답배 망부샤라 빼 망부샤라 빼나 아니 빼 망부샤워다 되나.
So the section is of great import. Covers the temple also.
추추되나?
Tadi pagi di nozo SBC member wa.
아.
pagi SBC member wa.
네.
거 가르친 거 요매 하고 오네.
암지다. 났으니까.
아.
암지다 났으니까도.
그래.
네.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry for the people at home. We had a little bit of medical event. And good people on hand. We have a nurse and a doctor on hand. So, yeah.
El salary sonji mas.
La.
El salary masan.
They called those rido chelo konso de lamsang kuran sinsa. All right, so yeah, it's great that we have Rosie, Dr. Rosie, and Georgie as a nurse on hand. Thank you very much. And so the point that we made here in this section are of great importance, they're great import. So first of all, we develop the ability of the mind to have a good observation of the object. And once this ability of employing good observation, solid observation, then the mind can make fine distinctions. And so there are many examples that illustrate the relationship between shamatha and vipassana, that good observation and fine analysis.
Shedans yanda nebala teni semla semnun jogshetans churub number jebicher shinetan langdongins she yanda vi tingin teni sem joba shinetan churub the number jebi sherabla langdong du sonsos.
And so it says in the next quotation, also from Maitreya's ornament to the Mahayana Sutra, in reliance on proper stability, shamatha and special insights serve to place the mind on mind and thoroughly differentiate phenomena. This says that placing the mind in reliance on correct concentration is known as shamatha, and the wisdom thoroughly differentiating phenomena is known as special insight.
장살레견 대신도 송신 공론 파월레견 추르기율라 넘버의 영원 신이 난도 미벌레 균드랑 난긴 주벌라 가와탄 신도 장바든 템비 셈니라 네번 신의 치샤오스.
And so it says there here then Bodhisattva level is presented just like that. And the second stages of meditation also says, once distraction towards external things has been pacified, resting with joy and pliancy within the mind itself, continuously and naturally engaging its internal object, is called shamatha. At the time of abiding in that shamatha, any thorough analysis of suchness is known as special insight.
신의 딩일라 니비치 대코는 일라 넘버 줘봐 강이 버튼 langdong des shedan sheshe menga legen tejin du shebi sade tang sheshe menga le sombatar shila re la yang cheda chini nika la miba yebichir shila ni mi yu kon susu mi chi chi tongni dobi shine kyan yola tongni ma dobi langdong ye yodo 대한 샘 치르기를 규바 신이 난도 미국을 내배나 신이 시찰라 학벌때 캐벌든 통이나 당동시 자오스.
It says at the end of this quotation from the States of Meditation, at the time of abiding in that shamatha, any thorough analysis of suchness is known as special insight. Instructions on the perfection of wisdom explains this in the same way. And then Lama Tsongkhapa says, according to bodhisattva levels and instructions on the perfection of wisdom, shamatha and special insight can each have both the ultimate mode of being and things in their variety as its object. Therefore, shamatha and special insight are not differentiated by way of their objects. There is a shamatha that realizes emptiness, and there is also a special insight that does not realize emptiness. Also, when the scattering to external objects has been pacified and the mind abides on an internal object, this is called shamatha, whereas seeing something special or superior is called special insight.
단지 도술 딘지 가그도 간다 샘 못도버 내봐 리빅 서칭 알메바 신내당 서칭 알여봐 당돈 되번 미릭데 하르셰바 탐제 당가비시 도제 공전당 아니 장사당 아니 사댕아당 시시 맹가로 소바 안디 참다 안가르그리스.
And so since here we are dealing with these two, shamatha and vipassana, next Lama Tsongkhapa says that there are some ideas or positions with respect to what they are, but those positions are not necessarily correct. So there is some refutation of other positions with respect to these two. And so some claim that the mind abiding non-conceptually without a vibrant clarity of cognition is shamatha, whereas it does have a vibrant clarity, it is special insight. But this is not correct because it contradicts everything explained above, which means from the bodhisattva bhumi, from the bodhisattva levels, from the compendium of the perfection of wisdom, from this ornament to the Mahayana and Sutra and so forth. So this is not so because it contradicts everything explained above, and because this distinction is merely this distinction between concentration with or without laxity.
Capital tennis, the big Moldova never, Ribig searching our mebada, Ngariobati, Tang any Sheneda, Tangdon Shedevati, Norbaris. The thing in Zingi Cabert some remodel, the Sheneda Tangdon Caberchicks on in Rugio Maris.
And so the point here is that some distinguish between shamatha and vipassana in the following way. Some say that shamatha has that vibrant clarity, whereas vipassana doesn't have that vibrant clarity. And so Lama Tsongkhapa says that this is not the correct distinction between shamatha and vipassana, because to begin with, shamatha is a type of concentration. And in terms of the way that concentration is distinguished, it can be concentration in which there is a vibrant clarity and concentration without vibrant clarity. So this distinction is made with respect to concentration, but not with respect to shamatha and vipassana, or calm abiding and special insight.
네, 캐벌 테니스 땡인진 징화 유미 기 캐벌 점 임비처디 신내기 땡인즈 탐제라양 징화당 상방 이벌 걸라 징화의 차위 땡인즈 탐제라 샘기 살창 이벌 오위체로스.
And so the text continues in saying, let's read actually from this, but this is not correct because it contradicts everything explained above, and because this distinction is merely the distinction between concentration with or without laxity. This is also because every concentration of shamatha must definitely be free of laxity, and even concentration that is free from laxity, clarity of the mind will definitely rise.
tenants Tony la migbi tengen zentang shirab yimenis shibita tombanyin sadi chö namgi neluk telaya ane tombanyin dajagores chö namgi neluk telaya migbi chö namgi neluk laya tawi tengen zentang shirab yimenis dindi jargo dasra.
Thus, to identify whether a mind is concentration of wisdom that observes emptiness. So Lama Tsongkhapa says that let's look at the final mode of being, final reality. In Buddhist terminology, we call that final reality emptiness. So let's look at that. We have a mind that observes that, and thus to identify whether a mind is a concentration or a wisdom that observes emptiness. This is what you must check.
Yu dame ni kanyang rong lo di to ma to ju gonu ngu song go des ngu song go de yu de khona ni la lo kha ma cho bi ani densa ma do bi dengin ze pa me yu bi cheros.
So to identify whether a mind is a concentration or a wisdom that observes emptiness, you must check whether the mind realizes either of the two selflessnesses. This is because there are countless non-conceptual concentrations of bliss and clarity in which the mind is not directed at the ultimate nature of an object.
Tedari yin luk to bi tawa ma ni kyang sem chin ya mu to ba song we cho ba ngon sum ji tribe tong ye ma gon ya mu to bi dengin zi ke wa la ngawa chong se kya me la di goni sem rin senna sem simpi tu long le rong ke la te ke ba na lu som la ga de ke ba chini imbe dewa ke ba manga she te ke ba na ga de ke choba namba sa yu tu sem la sa cha on we na dancer mu to bi tingin zi tamji yi te ko na ni to ba jo menu source.
So it says this is because there are countless non-conceptual concentrations of bliss and clarity in which the mind is not directed at the ultimate nature of an object. It is established by direct perception that it is possible for a mind to apprehend without discursive thought, but not find the view that realizes the ultimate mode of being. Therefore, there is not the slightest contradiction in the arising of non-conceptual concentrations that do not understand emptiness. From that point of view, when the mind is held for a long time, the power of the mind being so held gives rise to serviceable winds. Bliss at that time is not precluded because when the serviceable winds arise, it is natural for bliss and joy to arise in the body and the mind.
Tena toni dobi tingin zin la yang denser mu to ba won la toni la loka ma jo bi tingin zin la yang ani dewa dang yul sa mu to ba jo ma we teni ji khabar che go sos.
Once that has arisen, the power of one's clear sensation of bliss and joy produces clarity in the mind. Therefore, you cannot posit that all blissful, clear, non-conceptual concentrations realize suchness. Consequently, since bliss, clarity, and non-conceptuality arise in concentrations that do not realize emptiness, and since there are also many concentrations in which the mind is not directed at emptiness and yet do have bliss, clarity, and non-conceptuality, one must distinguish between the two. Chris was asking, what is an example of special insight that does not realize emptiness? So, for example, we can have special insight that realizes compounded phenomena being impermanent.
다 최탐지 도비 랑동용 쇼거레스. 라. 지민이 랑동라야 피기 넬루 타르투글야 제네. 네바니 과지 요마레 고마레 송라다.
The point here that the text says that one can have special insight that realizes all phenomena, which means that it doesn't have to it doesn't have to realize only final reality. It can realize any other phenomena.
시반의 지시를 신내다 항동레리와 공부 무척벌 니가 공부가 냠나스 제와도저래 제위식도 제와도 지시 신내다
And so the next the text explains the reason both counterbalance and special insight need to be cultivated. And it begins with posing a question. Why is it not enough to cultivate either shamatha or special insight? Why must one cultivate both?
답변나스 쳔무 로그리 따위 텐도 마르메 바르바나 마르메 신도 사와다 롱기 무요와 니단 데나 티굴 남 신도 사월 통라 마르메 무사옴 사야 롱기 껴나 숙니 남 사오문 통화 신도 삼미 된 따와라야 대코는 이게 된 신주 말로버 니비 셔럽당 샘미발라 제대로 되버신도 니비 무요와 니단 데나 대코는 이 사원 통기 샘신도 문초고 니비 무도비 땡인지 여장 인루 도비 셔럽면은 땡인전의 최점 공간 인루 도비 미실라 다음에 콘두치비 따와 여장 샘지주도 니비 땡비 땡인지면은 인루 기준 사원 통화 미시기 쳐스 실라니가 그대스.
And so to answer the question, why is it not enough to cultivate either shamatha or special insight? Why must one cultivate both? The text says, to illustrate, when you light a battle lamp or a candle at night in order to look at murals, if the battle lamp is both very bright and does not flicker due to wind, you will see the painted figures very clearly. However, if the battle lamp is not bright or is bright but flickers in the wind, you will not see the forms clearly. Likewise, with respect to viewing the profound meaning, you will see suchness clearly if you have both the wisdom that ascertains the meaning of suchness without error and the imperturbability, it's a difficult word, yeah, this one, of a mind that stays on its object at will. However, if you do not have the wisdom that realizes the ultimate mode of being, you will not penetrate the ultimate mode of beings, no matter how much you familiarize yourself with concentration. Even if you have non-conceptual concentration and your mind remains unscattered. On the other hand, if you have the view that comprehends selflessness, but you lack the firm concentration in which the mind remains single-pointed, you will be unable to see the meaning of the ultimate mode of being clearly. Therefore, both shamatha and special insight are necessary.
실라니가 고바인데 공름 파르발리 신내단 트래벨 항동 바시기니 낸주비 셈열라 남바이원 유르기 롱기 나는도비 말메신도 딱벌 민주로 대회나 이시기 나와 신도 싸워 민족디 대답했나 니간 잡아 템벌 차우 셰탄스.
And so to support the position that both shamatha and special insight are necessary, Kamalashila's second stage of meditation says, with special insight alone without shamatha, the yogi's mind is distracted to other objects, and it will be unstable like a battle lamp in the wind. Consequently, the light of exalted wisdom will not shine forth brightly, which is why you should rely on both equally.
대다 신이기 tomni 말미 롱 메바 샤바셰 number medoki long namji yo minjuros.
And to continue with the quotations from the second stage of meditation, it says, a mind with the power of shamatha will not be moved by the wind of conceptualizations, like a battle lamp secluded from the wind.
방통기니 따왕님비 자와타다 빵베 셴다기니 미체데스 다와드민돌리 치기 저 신이 또기 요와 메버린겨 방통기니 레단 자버린겨 시송바타고 시소스.
Through special insight, you eliminate the snares of all inferior views so that others no longer lead you astray. As the Moon Lamp Sutra describes it, through shamatha's power, you will be immovable. Through special insight, you will be like a mountain.
대달샘 진구기 민념바 메비 신이기 냠자의 뎀비 셰르기 땅나 양답이 된 시버인기와라 고니 주양답을 도와리 샘 냠버샤나 양답을 쳇다와진 시버인기로 시송디 공름 담볼리 샘 추신도 여위체 신이기 심해바 네벌 메디 냠버 마샤비 샘기니 양답을 쳇다와신 시버 미니디 좀 된데 이장 냠버샤베 양답을 쳇다와진더랍디 시소시 까자도 시소 신이 존나 다메라 수신도 주비 셰르기 요위 견도바 마세 마다바단 렌데단 코비니미단 장바단 닌지단 장주기 셈종와라 소비 소소도비 셰르기 제금체바 탐제냐 미발라 양위 견로니 랑랑기 미바 칸일라 셴도 메양월 주비 게와 칸체 탐제 톱체라 신이 많이 비훈드니 실체를 미와신라 이미 개줄 제바 탐지 또 총디 존주래 샘는 넘바 양이 미 니무체비 타는 시당 대비주 타는 까도소 유린투스 제제장 샘진 이원 체변 대니리비 되면서 시송바다로스.
You will know the meaning of reality if you analyze with wisdom that is conjoined with a meditative equipoise of shamatha that is not unbalanced by laxity or mental excitement. With that intention, the companion of the Dhamma says, when your mind is in meditative equipoise, you will know reality as it is. The first stages of meditation says, since the mind is unsteady like water, there is no abiding without the basis of shamatha. A mind that is not in meditative equipoise cannot know reality as it is. The Blessed One, the Bhagavan, said, the mind in meditative equipoise fully knows reality as it is. When you accomplish shamatha, it not only eliminates the fault of your wisdom consciousness wandering off while correctly analyzing selflessness. It also eliminates the fault of distraction during all analytical meditations that you do with fine investigative wisdom on impermanence, actions, and their effects, the faults of cyclic existence, love, compassion, training in bodhicitta, and so forth. As a result, everything virtuous you do is powerful because when you focus on each individual object, whatever it may be, you are never pulled away to something else. Until you obtain shamatha, any virtuous practice you do will be weak owing to a predominance of distraction. It is as entering to the Bodhisattva way, Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, which says, a person with a distracted mind is in the fangs of the mental afflictions. And the sage taught that this recitation, ascetic practices, and so forth, even if you practice them at length, they are pointless with a distracted mind. Shall we leave the text here for today? All right, and so we will finish off with the final Lamrim dedication. For my two collections, fastest space that I've amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose mind's wisdom eyes blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in the loving compassion for all lives Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded parts of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I've discerned it. May I uphold Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going up with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted unto his peace. And the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by even this graded path to enlightenment, completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths. Never be parted in any of the lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtues practices, may always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may ocean of prosperity spread everywhere. Thank you.